he set out on a path and didn't know where it would lead. That takes courage from leaders. The title of the book is The Quest for a Historical Atom, and I think quest is a great way to describe it. It was a journey that I had a small privilege of being part of that conversation with you, but I got to say I have a great deal of respect for the courage that I think that Bill really demonstrated in taking up this super controversial question where he set out on a path and didn't know where it would lead. That takes courage from leaders, and I saw that in him, and I think we need more of that type of courageous work.
Well, Josh was a great guide to me, especially in the early days as we were both attending conferences together on the historical atom, and I got to know him personally and had such tremendous respect for his work in genetics. That was another revelation that came out of this study. A few years ago, I visited Trinity Western University, where my friend Michael Horner introduced me to Dennis Venema. And Venema argued that there could not have possibly been an original human pair from whom the human race descended, that this was as certain as the fact that the sun is at the center of the solar system. And that shook me. I wondered, how am I going to deal with this? And in the course of this study, with Josh's guidance, I came to realize that, in fact, locating Adam and Eve where I wanted to as ancestral to Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, the problem posed by population genetics just evaporates. It just goes away. There is no problem in having a primordial human pair who are the universal ancestors of mankind. So that was an area where Josh was of tremendous help to me.
I wonder, Joshua, if you could sketch that out for us then, because that would be really helpful. And this is obviously one of the key aspects of your own book, which came out.
Several people had raised scientific questions about Dennis Venema's work. Dennis Venema is an important scholar, in particular because of his book Adam and the Genome, and he really had Biologos' stamp of approval. They really promote his work, right? And his book was really summarizing Biologos' position over the last decade. But several people had raised scientific concerns about his work, but were being really neglected. I'm probably distinct for being the only one who at the time was connected to Biologos, and I find myself in a little bit of a whistleblower situation there, which was complex, and that's another story.
For those who aren't familiar with all of this already, so just give us a sense of what this position is that Venema and Biologos.
Yeah, so he argues that and Biologos' position for a very long time has been that any idea of monogenesis, the idea that we all descend from Adam and Eve, and also de novo creation, that's not important to Bill, but for other people, any idea of that is really in conflict with the scientific evidence. That they actually were claiming that the mainstream consensus actually has evidence that says this, and I think that's part of what made their argument so forceful, is that they were claiming that this is just established science. But the issue was that they actually were really misrepresenting the consensus. A lot, it's hard to quantify exactly, but perhaps even most of the things that they said in population genetics were real, frank misrepresentations of the mainstream consensus. So the critique that Bill actually offers and explains in his book, it is a critique of the science of Biologos. It's a critique of Dennis Venema. But what's surprising about it is it's not an intelligent design ID or creationist critique. It's a mainstream science critique of the position. And I think that's a really critical thing to understand here. The science here is actually aligned with mainstream science, even though it is really a pushback against Dennis Venema and evolutionary creationists at Biologos.